God, if we get the mandate of the good people of the state, we intend to overhaul the entire health sector, especially, as I said, with regards to public-private partnership, with regards to rehabilitation of all the general hospitals, provision of drugs and other medicaments. We also intend to provide what we call mobile clinics. Mobile clinics are meant to assist the local people in their villages. You find out that a pregnant woman falls sick and there is no hospital nearby and nobody to convey her to the hospital. You find out somebody has malaria, very deep malaria, typhoid fever, and so on and so forth. Very simple treatment for those people. Eventually, without care, these people will die. Our intention is that we are going to provide all the 44 local governments with mobile clinics, so that if there is any eventuality, they will just move to the village or to other remote locations and give treatment to the patients as required. We intend to establish health laboratories and emergency operation units in all the local governments headquarters, so that if there is any need for any blood test or any other test, we don't need to start coming to the general hospitals in Kano or teaching hospitals for a very minor analysis of blood. So we have a very good blueprint. I don't want to preempt the presentation of the blueprint, so I hope you will bear with us within the next few days, God willing. We'll present it and everybody will come to realize, to know what we intend to do on the health sector. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, sir. Before we go to the next candidate, sir, thank you. So I just want to emphasize the question again. We have allocations. We are not getting releases. What we want to do are different, so that when you saw that, you address that one as well. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I think I will just go straight to the point without much ado. And for me, this meeting and all the presentations that we've had is a scorecard and appraisal for past governments, which for me is way, way, way below national average and way, way below international standards. So in summary, we are talking of failure of past governments to prioritize what is important in the lives of our people. People have been making allusions to Lagos and other places. What Lagos has are leadership who have been put in place, who know their priority from day one. Show me in Kano today, in a number plate we have Kano, the center of commerce. Show me a 100 billion naira factory operating in Kano today. There is none. Show me a stretch of 100 square kilometers of mechanized farming. There is none. Show me a 100,000 tons installed capacity of animal feed mill in Kano. There is none. Yet, Lagos State, Ogun State, Oyo State comes here, buy our soya beans, buy rice, buy meat. They go and process it and bring back the processed food and sell it to us, and bring in the chickens and we buy it, and bring in the broilers and the eggs and we buy. So we have to address and approach governance as a project and as a business. So if you prioritize your spending, I gave an allusion when we had the debate at the Nigerian Medical Association. For the straight 7 years budget from 2017 to 2021, the total budgetary allocation for roads and infrastructure is 158 billion. If you put together agriculture, education, and health, it was 128 for the same number of years, which is 27% allocated to roads. And possibly that's why you have many people on the roads than in the hospitals or in the farms. So when we come in, what we are going to do is to declare state of emergency in these 3 key areas, make sure that education, agriculture, and health are prioritized not only in budgeting, but in implementation and bringing ingenuity and strategy. I was just talking to His Excellency here and I asked him whether he has been to Rwanda. And I suggested that at least 3 or 4 of us should go to Rwanda and see. This is a country that has been ravaged by war. But private schools are being closed on a daily basis, and children from private schools are being moved to public schools. This is leadership. What we require when we have leadership is a mechanism for feedback. Unfortunately, when our leaders get into position of leadership, they cut off that channel of communication. And they only want to hear what they want to hear, and they don't want to listen. There is no monopoly of knowledge. So when you prioritize, for me, the money is there. All you need to do is to prioritize them and make sure that people understand. And when you take of IGR, you see there is mistrust between the leaders and the people who are paying. Because even the federal allocation that comes here, people don't know where that money goes to. So there's a general mistrust that if I pay money, why does it go to? There's no transparency in spending. So I think these are key issues we need to address. And once we do this and you have the right team, I believe it is something that is doable. There is no rocket science in this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. One house, please. Thank you.
I would like to show my profound appreciation to this organization. Secondly, by profession, I'm not a medical doctor. Thirdly, I would like to reach out to over 90% of Kano people to understand clearly my vision. I believe 99% of the people occupying this hall are houses. Assalamu alaikum. Kamar yadda magana suke gabata. Ishi na maganar sha'anin lafiya a jihar Kano. Muna da gwamnatoci da aka yi shekara da shekaru. Yanzu ma akwai gwamnati da take mulki. Akwai problem na health. Su waye suke tafiyar da health? Doctors. Gwamnati are policy makers. Policies are implementing. We shouldn't be deceiving ourselves. Mu zauna mu yi ta zance, muna ta zance. I appreciate what wannan body din aka yi na inviting them mu trying to present a kind of blueprint in different sectors. Amma problem da muke fuskanta shine ina kudin da za a implementing abin da ake so a yi. That is the first. A serious-minded government had to sit down first and initiate ways that sami IGR, that is locally generated revenue. We shouldn't be dependent on foreign intervention or federal allocation. Once aka ce yau babu federal allocation, where are we? Today, Kano is dead. Kano, babu Kano, yau da magana da muke yi babu Kano, babu jihar Kano. Da ana comparing Kano to Lagos. But now, babu Kano, you can compare Lagos with other nations, but banda Kano. Our main target shine the professionals in different sectors see articulating the problems that we are facing in different sectors. More that are coming in. Let the professionals come up with a blueprint. No problem in the ake facing within that sector. Problem, the common solution. More that are coming in, then we sit down and look at it. Sai kuma mu yi alƙawarin za mu implementing wannan abu. Domin lack of continuity da abubuwa suke faruwa a jihar Kano. An fi bawa wato ayyuka waɗanda directly they are not impacting akan al'umman jihar Kano. Ana gina gadoji, ana gina underpass, ana gasa between wanda ya shiga da wanda ya fita. Yana so a yi wani aiki na ganin ido, ko aiki da za a yi ana neman either presidential candidate, ko yana so yana da ya gama aiki zai nemi presidential abin nan bare wani abin da wasu na waje za su yi. We are talking of Kano. My main problem is Kano. Kuma the most important abu shine one have to say kai generating revenue that can keep the government moving. How do I generate the revenue? Ina son engaging din 'yan kasuwanmu, masana'ar hannu, agriculture, the kiwo. My first intention shine once elected into government, I will make sure that I generating revenue that can keep education, health, and the rest of the sectors moving. Because without IGR, without money, nothing can move. And that's what is happening today. Dukkanin ayyukan da ake yi na gada da wasu abubuwa benefit ne na few individuals. Idan an bada aiki, profit da zai fito daga ciki. Kuma it's not impacting akan public. Kuma yau, for instance, big bridges in da aka yi, aka kashe billions of naira, wanda ya kamata a ce that billions of naira an zo a cikin sha'anin kasuwancin mu a jihar Kano. Ka tashi mutane al'umma, let people be engaged, su zama akwai wasu abin da suke yi. Then in return, wannan mutane za su dawo su biya taxes to the state. Government ba ta sai da abu. Abinda government take shi ne, government tana relying ne on taxes. Kuma sai ka ba wa al'umma aikin yi sannan za ka samu tax.
Your Excellency, sir, please permit it to interject. And that is what thank you very much for that point. Probably would like to move to the next.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
To lokaci ya kwarace waɗanda takarar gwamna ƙarƙashin tutar jam'iyyar SDP.
Rahman Rahim, sallallahu wa barik ala nabiyina Muhammad. That's because I am presenting my gubernatorial candidate from the Action Democratic Party, in person of Honorable Abba Ibrahim Sharada, who is currently with the national chairman and other members of the national executive of the ADP, having an important engagement. I hope he will join us when he concludes with them. I also want to thank you for organizing this session. It's an interactive session for us to understand each other and remind us of what we are supposed to do, going by what you had presented. One of the important things that we look into consideration is the payment of salary of health workers. Salaries, training, and other incentive, so that they can concentrate and work as expected of them, so that they look at the patient with eyes of love and respect and treat them as their brothers and sisters. Some few weeks ago, a woman died in Murtala Mohammed Hospital due to lack of care, lack of concern. She came to the hospital seeking for an operation. She was pregnant, requesting them to come and attend to her, but they ignored. Eventually, and very unfortunately, the baby died in her womb, and no sooner had the baby died, the woman also gave up. So this is disparaging. It's quite unfortunate of such things happen in a state like Kano, where we are describing Kano as the center of commerce, center of knowledge and learning, center where people who come from different backgrounds are converged together in the city of Kano to provide various services to humanity. The second thing we look at is the ensure that we provide adequate equipment in our hospital. My brother from the NNPP had mentioned of some medical facilities, mobile medical facilities, which is true. We also have the same plan, an idea that people who come from remote areas, before they come to hospital, they have to cross a river, sometime in the night, sometime during the rainy season, or the like. So having a mobile clinic in each and every local government, or even more of that in various remote areas in our city, is key, because it's like taking the medical center to their doorstep, so that they can have the required medical facility and at the appropriate time. This is to save life and encourage them to have a good health, so that they can give back to the community. Another thing, we have a plan to build one of the best pharmaceutical industry, so that we provide good drugs, good vaccines, and other related materials needed for that medical aspect, so that the citizens of Kano who goes to our hospital can buy medicine at a very lesser price compared with what is obtained in our various open markets. The idea of this is to rusticate the inflow or movement of adulterated drugs in our midst, people consuming drug without having an impact, or buying drugs that will be to the detriment of their health in return. We also look at the issue of supporting our traditional medical practitioners who had been in existence for more than 1,000 years in Kano. Kano, we all remember, had been in existence as a full-fledged community, well respected in the world for the past 1,000 years. There was in Kano then a good leadership, education, administration, justice, security, and various aspects of governance were in place. This is different with what was obtained then in other parts of the country and beyond the shores of our country. So we intend to support traditional medical practitioners, to upgrade, support them to broaden their horizon in that field, so that they can equally put a helping hand in attending to most of medical problems, inshallah.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's appreciate our candidates, please, for those feedback. We really appreciate that. I think a number of important points came out from this conversation. If you listen carefully, one thing is very central from almost all the candidates, and we are very happy it's coming out from them, and we will use it to, by God's grace, when the winner emerge, to use it to continue engage. Number one, of prioritization, prioritization, prioritization. How do we prioritize health? No matter how little the revenue is, it's a matter of priority. Health is important despite the very little volume of our revenue. That's number one. Number two, the need to generate more revenue so that the government is able to spend more. We are getting that commitment that going forward, that areas will be prioritized. We are very happy about that. And number three, we have candidates that talk about if there are opportunity for state to mobilize resources, maybe from national and others, and the state needs to put some things in place to be eligible for mobilizing these resources, a state will put it in place. And we have a number of candidates that told us about their plan in terms of what they do differently. We are very happy about this. We are documenting it, Your Excellencies, and then when the winner emerge, inshallah, it will be the basis for engagement, and we hope that when we call you after the elections, you oblige us to discuss further, because governance is a collective responsibility. So on this note, I would like to thank the candidate for this.
Before you round up, I think Mr. Gafar on health, I think one thing that is very clear and very common among all the gubernatorial candidates is that they have all agreed that they are going to give so much priority to the health sector. So in essence, that probably we expect that by extension, there is going to be an increased budgetary allocation to the health sector and also improve releases of fund to fund health sector. Am I right, Your Excellencies? Okay, this is a commitment. Yeah. So note it down.
So one last thing that I would like to emphasize, Your Excellencies, is one thing to release the allocation, improve execution. Your Excellency, accountability for spending is very, very important. Playing the oversight, ensuring, and we want the accountability to come from the highest level, where His Excellencies will be interested. As spent also amount of money on health last year. How much of health did we buy? What is the improvement in the life of people of Kano as a result of spending on health? I think those are the very important things to do differently. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gafar. So I think the next one, Mr. Dr. Awal Halilu, I'll give you 2 minutes just to administer one question, which is going to be general on education, please. Yes, when you ask the question, then I will ask you one excellent to reply on 2 minutes. This time around, I'll be very much quick with the time.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Ni ma zan ce Your Excellencies tunda muna sa rai in Allah yarda. I am representing Civil Society Action Coalition on Education for All, SACEFA. And the major concern of SACEFA is to advocate for not only education but qualitative education for all. And looking at the challenges we have in Kano State, of course, so far so good. Despite the challenges, we are leading in education in some part in Kano State. So we thank Allah for that. But despite these challenges, issues of free and compulsory education, issues of policies, domestication, as far as education is concerned, the gender policies, disability policies, and others. The issue of teacher recruitment, not only the recruitment, but deployment, is a key issue, and then budget allocation and releases. Of course, we are almost the highest in Nigeria. By 2023, we have 27% budget in education. Our releases is as low as at least 963%. Then issue of school land encouragement, issue of Almajiri education integration, and we have one major issue again, that yearly We have more than 250 teachers. Some retired, some died, others are sick. We lose at least 250 competent teachers in Kano State yearly, or more than that. Then we have our great leaders here, inshallah. What will be your plans? What will be the strategy you will use in order to improve education? As the saying goes, education is our passport to the future, and tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. And by this action we have started preparing. What will be your plans for education in Kano State?
Oh, thank you.
Assalamu alaikum once again. And like I did the first time, inshallah, I'll try and stay within my 2 minutes. And education is very important for us to pay attention to, because if you do not educate, particularly the young people, you do not educate the future, and that will put your people in jeopardy. And for us, we have prioritized education, and we intend to innovate education. And the focus of our administration, if we get in, inshallah, will be on primary education. Because the primary education level is the foundation of every other thing. And if the foundation is shaky, that means every other thing that will be built on it will also be shaky. It will not stand. And as such, our priority for education is to ensure that at the basic level, at least each and every child gets access to quality education. Access and quality are two important things at the primary level that we want to ensure. And one of the tools that we intend to use to give access and quality at the same time is through technology. There is a policy that was developed by the Federal Ministry of Education in collaboration with Microsoft and other stakeholders, and they did a very good job in terms of getting qualified teachers, to record all the modules, from primary 1 to 6, all qualified teachers, all the different subjects, have been put together by qualified teachers, and this can be, it's called, I think, the learning passport. You can have a look at that. It's called the learning passport. So we intend to deploy this using technology to ensure that even in remote areas, even under a tree, if you can have a good shade, you can deploy this using a projector so that students can have access to these classes online and access it and get quality education. This is addressing not just the access and the quality, but it's also addressing the issue of lack of structures that we have. We all know that it will cost us a lot of money to provide the required classrooms that we need in Kano State. The last data that I have not updated it, I have not checked the latest data. That is, we need, I think, over 140 billion to provide what is needed at the primary level in terms of classrooms, desks, and so on and so forth, other teaching materials. So it will not be easy to easily get the funding. So before we do that, while we are improving on these structures and what have you, we intend to ensure that from day one, students can have access to it so that at least they can start learning. This has been used in India, and easily we'll domesticate it, we'll make sure it's done. So within my remaining 15 seconds, I just want to say that there's also other aspects of education. That is the secondary education and the tertiary education. For secondary education, we intend to separate it into two. The conventional schools, the normal secondary schools that we have, which will introduce 21st century skills from JS1 to JS3. Each secondary school student will get access to 21st century skills. And then there are technical schools that will improve and introduce new ones so that all technical skills, what we have been used to, will be taught in there. And for tertiary education, we intend to fund it more in terms of research funding and so on and so forth. So this is our plan for the education sector. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Hanyar da za a bi wajen inganta ilimi shine United Nations ta ce ga yadda za a yi. Na biyu, akwai kwamitoci da yawa da aka yi a wannan ƙasa tamu a game da abin da ya shafi ilimi a ɗebo su. Na uku, a dubi masu ruwa da tsaki da duk abin da ya shafi ilimi, firamare ne, sakandare ne, private school ce, tashiri ne, masu ruwa da tsaki a zauna da su. Sannan kuma a dawo kan abin da ya shafi welfare ta su malamai da training. Duk wani ci gaba da ake a duniya abu uku ne: ilimi, tattalin arziki, ɗan adam. Da haka ko ina aka zaga tattalin arzikin nan muhimmi ne, shine backbone da zai taimake kai abin da za ka yi. Sannan kuma dole sai ya zama na cewa ka karanto abin da ya afku a baya, domin da kwamitoci da dama da aka yi tun daga lokacin da aka fara su samu da Bello Sardauna har yanzu. Ga kwamitoci nan kala-kala, an yi bincike akan education, amma an ajiye su ba a kula su. To za ka ɗebo ka yi reviving nasu, ka duba abin da ya dace da zamani da lokaci akan kowace sakta ta ilimi, da private school ne, da public school ne, da kaza da kaza. In ka dawo kan maganar makaranta allo da ka kawo ko almajirai ko kaza, ka zauna da su, ka fahimci bukatunsu da matsalolinsu, sannan ka zauna ka duba hanyar da za ka taimakawa ilimi, kowane bangare ne ilimi, ka dube shi ka ba shi haƙƙinsa da dace. Na gode.
Thank you, Excellency.
So, thank you very much. As far as education is concerned, just as my brother of the PRP has said, the first issue is to ensure adequate budgetary allocation. It has been like that during my leaders' first and second tenure. We ensured that education gets the largest budgetary allocation. Number two is to ensure that you block all levels of corruption. All levels of corruption. We have to make sure that leaders' accounts for the monies that are meant not only for education, for the whole sectors. So if we are able to do that, I'm sure we will get a lot of money that we can utilize in managing the education sector. Another thing is to ensure we have enabling environment, especially for our local and international donors. We have so many agencies that are ready to give contribution to the state. But because of one thing or the other, or lackluster attitude of the government of the day, nobody cares. And as a result of that, we lose substantial amount of donations from these agencies. So by the grace of God, we ensure that we pursue that vigorously so that we can all achieve the desired result. I will also have the issue of counterpart. Let me just give you a typical example of UBEC. UBEC is a social responsibility agency under the federal government. And annually, billions of naira is being set aside for the development of other states across the federation. In Kano, I could remember during our interactive session with the BBC 2019, I made a point that the state government needs to be utilizing the resources. For 4 years, nobody from Kano State approached UBEC and collected that money. As a result, we lost almost 4 billion naira. Now, as far as we are concerned, by the grace of God, we will pursue that money vigorously we make sure that we get our own counterpart funding, either through IGL, through whatever means, so that we can deposit it with them, and by the time they bring the money, then we can know what to do with it. We have to ensure the sustenance of schools feeding. You have seen what happened throughout the previous administration of Jawabi. The successes recorded, especially on pre-feeding, free uniform, free instructional materials for teachers. We intend to pursue that also vigorously. And there is issue of training and retraining of teachers, primary school teachers, secondary school, and even tertiary and university teachers. We also need to pursue that, and by the grace of God, we do that. Sorry, a lot of things is all right. Thank you very much.
Well, like I said initially, I think all of us are united when it comes to education. It's only a matter of perspective and approach. I think that's where we differ. My brothers from the KWANKWASIYYA sect, NNPP sect, NNPP party, sorry, Your Excellency. We were up in our necks grabbing when His Excellency, the presidential candidate, respected Dr. Rabi Musa Kwankwaso, unveiled his blueprint for education. And what he did was fantastic. My challenge with that is whenever you mention something that is free, like the British says, the only place that you find a free cheese is on the mousetrap. So when we come in, like I said, education, agriculture, and health, we are going to declare a state of emergency. And when you declare a state of emergency, it means you take everything and approach it with a surgical approach. All the challenges that they have. We, unfortunately, afford so much attention and resources to physical infrastructure. That's where the money, most of the money, you see billions going. But I just have a page here from UNESCO and from Brecken's. And in all indices of education, Kano is not in the top 20 states in the state. We are not in the top 17 in healthcare delivery. Even in the agriculture that we boast, we're number 18. The most developed farms, mechanized farms, are all from the southwest. So the most important thing is approaching the strategy inorganically. When I say inorganic, it means you just have to go shopping and poaching for the best hands of educationists, wherever they are, and no matter how much they cost, you bring them on board. There's a classical example that happened in Kaduna. 80% of the teachers we have need to be taught. They're not capable. So we are churning out, in fact, not half-baked. 1/4 baked students are being churned out from primary schools to secondary school, and those are the ones that are being pushed into universities. Some of you who are lecturers in the universities here will attest to that. You virtually need to open their brain and put education lectures into their brains. Why? Because they are not prepared. So training, bringing in the right personnel And not only pushing, like His Excellency said, not only pushing the right amount of money, but ensuring that that money counts.
Thank you, Excellency.
Thank you.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Education, health, they are social sectors. They are sectors that need investment. But to education, the health sectors ne waɗanda suke buƙatar kuɗi. You cannot do anything, but za ka iya yin komai ba without money. Depending, any government, any serious government, duk wata gwamnati mai serious government that wanted to taimaki al'ummanta should not be thinking of foreign intervention. First, me kai a matsayinka na governor, me kai, me za ka yi, ya za ka yi ka tashi sha'anin IGR ɗinka yadda za ka yi, sai da kuɗi za ka iya aiwatar da duk abin da za ka aiwatar. Kano a mace take, babu kuɗi a yau, IGR ɗin da ake samu bai kai 2 billion. Idan babu federal grant, babu intervention from foreign aid, babu Kano. Kano being a center of commerce. Kano da muka taso a cikin arziki. Yau baki ɗaya hanyoyin samun kuɗinmu a mace suke. Don haka duk wani abin da mutum zai yi akan health waje ne da ake, kuma duk abin da ake ta fama, asibiti na existing for quite a long time. Kamar yadda makarantu suke existing for quite a long time. Dukkaninmu nan we are all beneficiaries of free education. Wanda yau babu free education. Issue na magana feeding kamar yadda my colleague ya faɗa, ba zan zo in yi feeding ɗin makarantu ba, in feeding ɗin children, in ba su abinci. Na fi son in zo in tashi iyayensu su yi feeding ɗinsu, dan in ba su abinci. Amma abin da ke magana shine, you provide training to all our teachers. Kai funding ɗin teachers ɗin ka tabbatar cewa all abin da ake bukata, teaching plan, exercise books, sitting materials, and all duk abin da ka sani a makaranta, government should provide that. Sai an samu conducive atmosphere na karatu, sannan yaro zai iya mafahimta abin da ake. Sai an samu conducive atmosphere na payment, salaries da wasu abubuwa, sannan malami ba zai iya ba da education da ake bukata. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
In the area of education, I think education is to the community what memory is to the individual. This is because of the importance attached to education. It is a bedrock for every societal development. Without an education, no society can prosper and achieve greatness. And when it comes to the issue of education, I understand that we largely relied on foreign aid, federation account, and other funding that may come from one way or another from various parts of the globe. But gone are the days when we begin to continue to rely on foreign aid. Gone are the days when we begin to rely on federation account to fund and support our education, to bring it back to what it is supposed to be. Because look at Nigeria today. Looking at Nigeria today, you now find out that we had borrowed so much, and we had almost exhausted the ceiling of borrowing from whatever body we are borrowing. So how do you expect this to continue? How do you expect to keep relying on federation account to support you to fund ABC sectors of your community? And on this arrangement, we have to have a kind of collaborated arrangement to have an education trust fund for Kano State. It's an engagement that involves the teacher, the parents, the well-to-do in the community, and some intellectual among us who can contribute intellectually in paving way or giving out solution to our numerous educational problems, and also advance ideas that will help simplify in terms of working out or solving the problem we are believed to be facing.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
No, I didn't exhaust my time. Or is it because I'm the deputy governor? my senior brother.
So you still have the privilege because you are still on that ticket. Yeah. So you have the privilege as well as the same privilege they have.
It's all right.
Yes.
Let me abide.
It's 2 minutes we say. But let me remind His Excellency that we have an education transfer in Kano, only that is not effective and it's not functional at all. So probably, so probably we need just only reactivation of that so that it will be fully functional. Thank you very much. I think Malawon, Dr. Awol, I will give you just 1 minute to round up, please.
Thank you. We have had a lot, and I want to conclude with something my teacher, Mala Ibrahim Khalil, used to say. I pick it, when I had him, then I picked something from Finland. Uwa malaman ɗanta, Hausa ce aiko, amma sai na ga education system na Finland. Finland, they mix health with education. When a woman is pregnant, while she's going for antenatal, they are monitoring her. The day she gave birth, instead of ragon suna da sauransu, they will give her books. You understand? They will give her books for her to train her child up to some years that he will come out to compete with other students or pupils in the community. So uwa dole ta tashi akan ɗanta ya ilimi. Me nake so in ce anan? Muna fata with this commitment, issue na adult and non-formal is very, very imperative. Where the adult population are illiterate, the younger generation will surely be illiterate. It's very key. Then issue of girl-child education and women in terms of skills, as we said, is very key. As the Sustainable Development Goal for education emphasizes lifelong learning for all. So as we wish and pray that Allah ya ba mu shugabanni na gari, duk wanda Allah ya zaba a cikin shi, a cikin ku, Allah ya ba ki ikon cikin Kanawa gaba daya da Najeriya. Allah ya sa mu dace. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Dr. Abdulrazak, quickly come on board, and Mala Mustafa from Obaya, please. Quickly come on board to administer your questions. You have just only 5 minutes for these sessions.
Dr. Abdulrazak Fagi shine ya shigo domin ya bayani akan abin ya musu tambayoyi akan abin da ya shafi.
Okay, thank you very much.
Kuma kamar da kuke gani da
Your Excellencies,
ya karbi abin magana.
The organizers of this program,
daidai wannan lokaci.
Distinguished participants, let me stand on the existing protocol. I would like to discuss the paper on the domestic revenue mobilization briefly. We saw how he highlighted some of the problems with revenue globally. Mostly is due to avoidance, tax avoidance and the tax evasion. And the serious problem we are having here in Kano when it comes to revenue generation. So I would like to emphasize on just 2 or 3 items. The first one is the declining revenue in Kano State. In 2017, Kano State was able to generate 42.42 billion naira in 2017. During the same period, Kaduna State generated only 26 billion, which was about 35% less than Kano. In 2018, the revenue improved from 42 billion to 44 billion in Kano. But the problem was, when we come to 2021, Kano State generated only 40.4 billion as revenue, while Kaduna State generated 52.9 billion, about 30% higher than Kano. So this is where we have problem. What happens, what goes wrong in Kano State? I would also like to comment on the increasing public debt in Kano. In 2017, the external debt was 66 million US dollar, and the domestic debt was 92 billion naira. But at the end of 2021, the external debt increased by 64.5% to 109 million US dollar, and the domestic debt increased by 35.6% to around 125 billion naira. And that leads to increase in debt revenue to debt service in Kano State. Currently is about 15%, and by next year it will be higher than 20%. This is a serious problem. Your Excellencies, I would like to ask, what is your plan on how to boost IGR for Kano State's sustainable development? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that question. And I think first of all, let me say that our blueprint is already online. You can download it, dawis.com. And because 2 minutes is obviously not enough to go through almost all the things that we have planned for the state. So if you go to dawis.com, you can download it, and at your convenience, you can go through it. So after we finish all the different sectors, thematic areas that we propose our ideas, the last thing on the page of our manifesto is that of sources of funding. And like you rightly said, the general IGR of Kano keeps going down for obvious reasons. But I think for us, the target is to increase the IGR of Kano from currently about 2 billion to see if we can take it to 10 billion. I think the experts have projected that as Kano is, with some few amendments, the IGR can be increased up to at least 10 billion naira per month, and it's also doable. You know, there are things that you need to do to ensure you get to that level. And if I can just quickly summarize them, the first one is the harmonization of the taxes, because there are different levels. Quickly, we also have the issue of voluntary compliance. Like we have seen globally, it's an issue affecting IGRs, and for us in Kano, all you need to do is to be prudent. If people see that you have the clean heart, not just clean heart, but also the sincerity of purpose, they will continue to give you IGR. The IGR will continue to increase because they see that you are not pocketing this IGR and it's being put to good use. This is one of the reasons why IGR in Kaduna is increasing. Because in Kaduna State, even if you have a borehole in your house, you pay for that taxes for that borehole that you're using because it's part of the state resources, and people are paying because at least the services that are being provided, people are seeing it and they're appreciating and they're giving more. And this is also another way that the Lagos state government uses, because any project that is being executed with the taxpayers' money, the government puts it up that this project is being executed by the taxpayers' money, and as such, it's there for people to see. Then the last point in this aspect is that of digitization. We have to ensure that no naira is being given in cash. Every tax that should be collected in Kano State should be, digitally collected, in terms of e-payment, so that people will know that it is going into the coffers of the state government and not into other people's hands.
Some people at the back I should not keep on sustaining the same way I'm going. Just the way how it is. They probably have to be changing. I should be jumping and skipping. So let me go to the last.
Well, I think the issue of tax is something that is very key, because most of our plans and good intention for the good people of Kano State cannot be achieved without adequate fund. So fund is the vehicle which we are going to use to move all our plans, our ambitions and other policies earlier mentioned. But why the problem that we often face in terms of tax here is lack of confidence. The good people of Kano State lost confidence in the administration and so could not continue give their tax to anyone. They don't see the result of tax release or payment on the ground. The government kept shouting of blocking leakages, but very unfortunately, it is on the other way, expanding the leakages. People don't see the result of tax collection on the ground. Things had not changed from what it was, what it is supposed to be today. And things kept going to the advantage of those who are in the area of governance or in the field of governance, and to the detriment of the people who kept paying their tax. So this is one aspect. There is need for a very serious sensitization for people to understand what is tax, why tax payment, and what are the results that one is expected to realize or to gain when he or she pays or his tax. Thirdly, the government should come out and tell the people the projected figure of taxation that we expect to realize from so period to so period is built at so amount of money. And should this be realized, we plan to do the following project. And if this attends, the people will see it and will really do what is expected of them.
Thank you.
So I think also we have to harmonize the tax to avoid multiple payment of such taxation people, because the people who pay the tax are the citizens of Kano. They also contribute in one way or the other in supporting the people of Kano State, and even the government. They give employment to a number of people, and also they help government in one way or another. There's need for harmonized tax arrangements so that they can know what they're paying and whom they're paying and where the money goes.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
So, yes, it's taken 15 seconds out of. In fiscal policies, there is what is called the 80-20 principle. And this is 20% of those who should give you revenue should give you 80% of that revenue, while 80% of those who should give you revenue will contribute 20% of that. So from day one, from our manifesto, we are going to set up a power plant that will power Sharada, Bompai, and Chalawa industrial estates. Lagos State and Ogun State get 80% of their revenues, especially on VAT, from their industries, processing factories. If you go from Akbara down upwards out to the shores of Lagos, factories churning out all sorts of products, so adding value. So once you do that, it's an inorganic growth. Your factories are up. Instead of collecting 20 kobo, they'll pay you in millions of naira. So that's number one. Number two, we've all talked of technology. Nobody knows who is collecting what. Nobody knows where the money goes. And there's so much distrust. So once, like my brothers have already mentioned, once the collection process and the centralization of the tax process is done, I think confidence will be built among people.
Thank you.
The other side is, I think, I'll just land, is boosting our agriculture. Once you boost agriculture, you know, it's something, agriculture, despite what we take from crude oil now, is still the highest that gives us contribution in our GDP. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
To kamar yadda Umar bin Khattab ya faɗa ne, shi dai harka ta kuɗi shine give and take, kuma gwamnati aikinta shine to motivate and to facilitate. To don haka babban abin yi shine ka inganta hanyar samun kuɗaɗen mutane, sannan ka kyautata rayuwar masu tara wannan haraji, ka toshe hanyar da kuɗin suke zubewa, mutane su ga aiki a fili inda hankalinsu zai karɓa. Shikenan.
To kamar yadda ake magana, ba inda za ka samu kudin shiga idan al'umma baki ɗaya kwance suke. Abinda za ka yi shine ka tashi al'ummarka, kasuwanci a jihar Kano, noma, kiwo, babu abin da yake aiki. 'Ya'yan Kano a cikin kashi 100, kashi 80 a mace suke. Don haka gwamnati ba ta sai da kaya, gwamnati karɓa take yi. Gwamnati karɓa take yi. Don haka don haka ai muna raye ne domin duk wanda ka tambaye shi zai tafi neman abinci, har yanzu hankalin mu aka abinci yake ba mu advance ba. Don haka sai ka tashi kasuwanci, ka tashi noma, ka tashi sawar da kuma ta yaya za ta nan. Idan Allah ya bani sa'a na zama gwamnan jihar Kano, yadda ake zuwa karɓo bashi a gina gadoji, haka zan karɓo bashi in ba wa 'yan kasuwanmu na jihar Kano da 'yan manomanmu na jihar Kano su biya a hankali, in tashe su, to inda tashe sannan za su tashi gwamnati in samu abin da zan yi. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much. As far as I am concerned, and as far as my party is concerned, I think I have 3 or 4 key issues to discuss with all of you. Number 1, I know the economy of this state has dipped very seriously, and the issue of generation of more revenue is of much concern to all of us. Now, I think if given the mandate, the first thing we will do is to do away with the revenue consultants, because I believe consultants are meant to support the resources of the state. If on monthly basis we can get a revenue of, let's say, 30 or even 2 billion naira, let's say minimum 2 billion. Do you know that it's not that 2 billion that goes to the government's treasury? It's less than 50% of that money that goes to the treasury. 50% goes to private pockets. If you don't know this, please go and find out. So the first thing my party will do under my leadership is to send away all the consultants and strengthen the functionality of the current internal revenue service to make sure that we support them, to make sure that they are independent, to encourage and motivate the staff through incentives, through bonuses, and so on and so forth. Number 3 is the resuscitation of ailing industries. Somebody is saying Kano is second to Lagos in terms of businesses. But today in Nigeria, we are the least. We had over 1,000 companies, Bombay, Chalawa, Sharada, and so on and so forth. How many percentage of those enterprises are functioning now? Almost zero. And why? Because the government doesn't care to assist them. So when we come on board, we make sure that there is tax relief packages for individuals and for other enterprises, so that at least they will benefit and the government and the good people of the state will also benefit. We have the issue of single treasury. We will make sure that government is operating a single treasury account so that all monies according to the government will go directly into the treasury. I think because of time I will stop here, but next time I'll tell.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. So I'll give you just a 30-second round of please.
Thank you very much. I would like to make two clarifications. One is on the harmonization of taxes the two of you talk about. There is already a law in place. Kano State and the Local Government Revenue Administration Consolidation and Decodification Law 2022 is already in place. And on Kano is dealt without monthly allocation. I think if we look at the July 2022 FAC allocation, Kano State received 8.5 billion naira, out of which 45% comes from Kano, which was 3.5 billion. And if you divided the 40 billion revenue into months, is 3.33 billion. When you add them together, it's 7.1 billion. So with a little push, Kano State can achieve fiscal sustainability. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Then Malam Mustafa, quickly, 5 minutes also for this issue.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon to you, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Having heard from Malam Abrazak Al-Kali on issues around governance, particularly in Kano State, we'll get to understand that governance is about directing, is about controlling, is about doing so many things to achieve specified goals and objectives. However, governance is not left without certain principles. Governance have principles. These principles include issues around participation, issues around ensuring efficiency and effectiveness,